Yeah, I want to go over some of this stuff with the pineal gland and your consciousness. And actually, I want to get into a couple things. I don't think it's on the internet, on YouTube anyway, at all. So, first, we got to get over to what's your pineal gland. It's actually located right here in the middle of, well, basically at the very, very top of the spine. Here's the spinal cord, the brain stem, and there's the pineal gland. It looks like a tiny little pine cone or an acorn or something. It's actually located right here inside of the, well, inside the head, but not towards the top of the head. It's actually above the spine and deep inside the brain. Now, that actually has to do with they sometimes call it your third eye. And I'm going to actually say, like, there's actually a lot of symbology throughout the world. Now, I'm not picking on Russia here because this is actually in Moscow. But this actually is almost like a representation of it in a way, too. You can see almost like the acornish effect, but it's all over. It's all over. Actually, this dome-type structure you'll see this in all these religious and political institutions everywhere. It starts bringing in energies, and it's not BS. I'm telling you right now. I'm not going to get into some of this. I'm more a scientific, objective type person, but I just want to tell you that there's something to this, but there's also something to it where they control people through it, and I'm going to get into maybe a couple things on even nutrition, which blocks the pineal gland, third eye, the consciousness or third eye, and what it can actually awaken it or clear it up from the toxins. But basically, this is like your intuition. It goes along with remote viewing. And I'm going to get into something very different you probably never heard of, just a little bit while, but you actually will see a little bit of this symbology one way or the other. Maybe it's a stretch of the imagination to say it's in Statue of Liberty, but then again, maybe not. Maybe not. What do they mean by holding a symbol of light? Liberty and freedom and things. But it's almost like focusing the collective conscious on a symbol. That's really what it does, right? And it's also been known in Buddha. Like if you notice, look at the hair. The hair styling, like the hair braided like it's styling, a pine cone braiding like as in Buddhism. That's been noted there. Now, they're very big on meditation and the third eye. But I'm going to like I said, I'm going to get into something else. Just be patient with this first, but I just want to get through some of this. This is actually, I think it's called the Pine Castle or something. It's over by the Vatican. You can see it looks like a pine cone. It's almost as if they know something, and it's right here in front of our face, that it's almost like they know something, but they don't want the masses to know it too much where they're too awakened, but they want them focused in on the powers that be. But it's all over. It's all over throughout the world. It's all over. It's in the United States. It's in Russia. It's in India. It's in Vatican. It's in Rome. Here's Moscow again. Another thing, like, what are they actually? It's like here's this, same type of symbology. Now, also, I could just state that a plain dome will also bring in energies in a certain fashion. So when you have a political leader talking in a dome-like structure or religious leader talking in a dome-like structure, it brings in other energies, and it kind of like brings out their message more to the ones that are listeners. But it's interesting that this is not just a plain dome in this area, too. This is in Moscow. So, same again, it's through religious institutions that they control people. Also, see this on the back of the dollar bill, the third eye. Or they could say it's the all-seeing eye, but maybe it's the third eye. But it's almost like the people on the top want to use they want to be connected to I guess the universe and have this third eye power, but they want to use all your powers too. They don't want you to have that power, and they want to control you. That's part of it. Now, here's another symbol with Buddha. You notice the hairstyle. Again, it's kind of like all over. It's almost like hinting at it right in front of your face. They're very much aware of this gland, I guess, that we all have in our body. Now, here again, here's the Pope with the staff. You notice the staff right here? Again, the symbology. Focus in on me, right? Again, here's another religious symbol. Same thing with the staff. Focus in on one area. They know about this gland. They do know about it, and it's about controlling. And here's entertainment too. I think it was Columbia or something, or what, I forgot. I don't know what it is, but basically the same type of thing. Again, you see here in Moscow. Again, it's all over the world. Actually, I guess Orthodox Christianity is actually one of the biggest controlling forces in Moscow. But then again, we have the Vatican. But they know about this. They know about this very much. And again, here's the I don't know what they call this. I guess the Pine, the Castle of Pine, or something like that, or I don't know what it is. But there's that symbology again. It's not somebody just said, "Hey, I'm going to make a pine cone, throw it there." Now, actually, if you look at Christmas trees, that's the pine cone and everything like that. That's actually all from paganism. Believe it or not. Now, I want to get into this because this is a little bit about magnets, and actually, I'm going to tell you about first. I'm going to tell you this. Well, let's just take a look at this photo for instance, again with the pine cone, and basically you can see the power structure from Rome, and you can also see it from Moscow, and you can see it from everywhere, Buddhism, and everything. It's prevalent throughout the world. Now, I'm going to tell you this. There's actually these two researchers, Walter Rawls and I think it was Davis and Rawls. Walter Rawls was one of them. And they did a lot of research on magnets and things like that, and they found out that they could place to one side of the magnet, and they wrote this in books, that it would actually bring about more the people's intuition would be heightened by putting it over the area of the brain by the pineal gland. But you have to have the correct side. It's got to be the negative energy side. And I don't want to tell anybody to do this because, well, I'll relate one story that was very, very wild that happened with them, with Walter Rawls. And this was actually I think it was in David Wilcock's book. And, I don't know how, he could have been hallucinating for all I know. I mean, I'm not going to say he went over to another realm. But he was using it's the bio-north, or magnetic south as a navigator calls it, but the magnetic therapy people call it bio-north, negative side of the magnet on the pineal gland, and he had like a special mask he wore on his head, and he had this magnet on the back of his head for like 20-30 minutes a day. And I think it was after a week or two, he noticed that he thought he saw something out of the corner of his eye. And then later on, I forgot it was another week or so after that, or whatever it was. I forgot the exact time length. And he was doing this about 20-30 minutes a day. He saw that the wall seemed like it almost melted away, and he almost saw a figure of a person standing there. And he was like, whoa, this is freaky. But then, the last time, and this is where he got scared, he actually saw the wall melt away, and he saw a man and a woman sitting on a hill from a distance, and they actually turned and looked at him like that. They actually saw him, and then he says, I am not messing with this stuff anymore. I was like, whoa, baby. But you do have to remember, I don't want to tell anybody to do this, because he probably might have been hallucinating for all I know, versus getting into another realms. But they do say that the North Pole of the magnet or something on a you don't want to be messing with this though, but that's their research, not my research, and not that I know it's correct. And a lot of people say don't do this or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, it's a mixed bag. I mean, I've been hearing things one way or the other too. I mean, some people are using it for therapy too, but they say that the North Pole of the magnet actually is, and this is, you got to watch, because these guys, navigators and magnetic therapy people, define things different. But basically, this chart, actually, this is right off of Soda Instruments graph. But they actually say that using the negative, let's say negative pole of the magnet, negative, let's see, keep it that way to keep it safe. You got to define what you got to. So if negative could mean a couple different things: magnetic south pole, or it could mean biological, North Pole, geographic pole. But the negative side of the magnet actually is heightened awareness, your intuition, and your consciousness, and also your even remote viewing is heightened. And actually, the way you find the negative side of a magnet is, think of this. I'm not going to tell anybody to do this, but I just don't want anybody screwing around with this crap, actually, because I don't really know what's going to do it. I think the guy was hallucinating, to tell you the truth. I don't know if he went over to another realm, but the other side of the magnet actually causes aggression. It's like people you get very aggressive. So if you use the wrong side, it's actually very, very, very detrimental. No, that's another thing. According to the research by Rawls and Davis. But what he did, actually, the way they find, what the magnetic therapy people find the negative side of the magnet, think of this red needle as positive versus, I know the needle itself is magnetized north and it seeks north, and it seeks the geographical north of the Earth, and the Earth is actually magnetized south at the North Pole. But think of this needle as positive, red, that faces north. Positive attracts negative. So the red will attract the negative side of a magnet. The magnetic therapy people call the negative side of a magnet bio-north, biological north. The navigation people call the negative side of the magnet magnetic north. But you got to just remember negative. So this red needle is a positive needle, right? It attracts the negative side of a magnet, which is the healing side. And that's the side that Walter Rawls experimented with, but he could have been hallucinating for all I know. But I also want to point out, this is actually a method, I think, when they have the domes and actually the architecture itself, you see this all over the place. You see it in Washington, D.C., you see it all over, you see it in the Kremlin, you see it in Rome. A dome structure itself, even without having an acorn or the pine cone shape or whatever the hell it is, actually that dome structure itself brings in energy. So when the leader talks, it accentuates that from the leader, and it brings it into the message much stronger into the listeners. Whereas if you were just giving the speech in a rectangular hallway or something like that, the dome structure itself, it's probably good information. I'm not giving you some hokey pokey pseudoscience here. Actually, that dome structure does bring in more energies. But these guys are all these people on the top are very well aware about controlling the masses. I don't want to be knocking the Catholic Church or nothing, but it's almost like, Christ was about, not having lots of money and gold and stuff. These guys are loaded. You know what I mean? And these guys up here too are loaded too. In Russia, Putin's another one playing the game, and everybody plays the game. Everybody's playing the game. They own the masses' consciousness, and they do it through entertainment too. And it's through religion at the Vatican again, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere throughout the world. It's in Asia. It's everywhere. So. But what I want to say to you also, it's on the back of our dollar bill, but also I want to say that, the fluoridization of the water is another thing that actually calcifies the pineal gland and also causes people not to think beyond the box, think beyond the structures that are put in front of them. And one way to actually remove that fluoride over a long period of time, besides not having the fluoride get in your body in the first place, is to use a supplement, boron. I'm actually going to put a link to the video I did on that. And it's actually something that's actually it's a very cheap supplement. I don't sell it. It's like $5-6 for a year's supply or something from the right sources. And it's also good for arthritic conditions, supposedly, too. So, and it's been, per medical people, not per my advice. And but the other thing is, there's other things. Even oregano oil is actually good food, and actually foods, green foods like broken cell wall chlorella and things like that are also good. Chinese broken cell wall chlorella are actually good for decalcifying pineal gland. And actually, these people on the top are very much conscious of what's going on, you know. So, you know, even if you look around here, what is around here? A half dome structure, right? Is it not? You know, I mean, I can't say that proves you something, but it's been known. It's been known. It's been known. It's not like a coincidence that all these things are found throughout Earth. You know, if you look at Buddha symbols or whatever the hell it is, that, you know, it's got the same. It's just not. If it's a coincidence, it's a hell of a coincidence. All right, just put it to you that way. And you know, even like when we're looking at the United States, I mean, it's a stretch of imagination to say it's in the Statue of Liberty, but you know, it's almost like they want the focal point of consciousness for you to believe in something, which may not be true because, you know, the owners own us. That's really what's going on. They don't want you to think too hard, and sometimes they just want you to look at a symbol and say, you are free and you have it the best and everything else. And I do think that in the United States we do have it the best, but we got to watch that we don't lose all our freedoms that we're losing piecemeal. And we're losing this by people basically on the top that are very much aware of what they're doing, because it's actually right there in front of our face in the building construction and everything that we see throughout the world. It doesn't matter if it's in Rome, it's in Washington, if it's in India, or it's in Russia, that we could see this right there in front of our face, that the powers that be on the very top are totally aware of how to control people and how to control their minds and how to basically keep them not thinking out too far outside the structures that they put in front of them. They don't want you thinking outside the box. So to actually be awakened, and I don't want to make this sound like some feel-good, huggy-feely garbage, but you know, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to experiment a little bit with that magnetic stuff. I'm going to use the magnetic pulsar and stuff, and give it a shot. See what happens. I just hope I don't see any walls coming down or something like that. Seeing any apparitions or anything. I don't think that's the case, but. Actually, Bob Beck warned against using the magnetic pulsar on the mind or the brain, but I do know they use the magnetic pulsar north side in the case of stroke victims when they have problems where a portion of the brain has been starved with oxygen and is damaged, and they'll try to recover people. So I don't see where it's me personally, I don't see where it's that dangerous. I don't know what Walter Rawls actually did, but maybe he had a couple shots of whiskey too when he was doing that. I don't know. I have no idea. But then again, it's not exactly written in his actual published works. That was actually coming from, you know, it was in David Wilcock's book, and it was coming from something he got from something. The published works of Rawls and Davis just state that using the north side on the mind of the magnet, the negative side. I shouldn't say north because there's magnetic therapy. I explained how to find it. Now, if you want to look at Soda Instruments' website, you can see that document, what I refer to. But they stated, Walter Rawls and Davis also stated that they didn't say anything about walls dropping down and going into other dimensions. But I've seen that, and I know where it's written, I know what book it's written on, and all that type of stuff. But the published books that they published, they stated that the negative side of the magnet increased awareness, intuition, even the possibility of remote viewing, ESP. It raised your consciousness. It made you more of a thinker. It made you a little more calm, more rational, and all that kind of other stuff. If you used the other side of the magnet, it made you angry, argumentative, aggressive, and everything else. You know, I always kind of think about that might be a cool thing to do for therapy for people that are problems, you know, instead of giving them meds, you know. Give them some, here's a magnet. But the pharmaceutical people would never do that because they'd be out of business, right? I mean, that'd be a cool application for it. I mean, if you got a person that's overly aggressive all the time and they're a problem for that reason, here, here's the magnet. Yeah, but then somebody's going to lose $1 billion someplace, right? No meds. But anyway, I figured I'd just point this out because I think I pointed out some more interesting areas to this than you typically find on YouTube. And I can delve into this more, but I'm gonna have to do it on a separate video because I probably went pretty long on this as it is. But the powers that be do understand what's going on. We got to actually have it where we are, as individuals, control the government itself, and the government is a tool for us to help people that we don't have time to help ourselves. That's the way I look at it. The government is a function of something that we need to have that we don't have the time to do because we have other chores in our daily lives. It's not just to help people, but it's also to defend ourselves and also maybe to do some major projects that we as individuals can't undertake. But it's like when we have religious and governmental entities, people on the top are very keenly aware of setting up structures and keeping people within those structures and not thinking outside those structures where they control all your energies and they reap the rewards only for themselves. Now, we got to have it the other way around. Everybody's got to have to stand as an individual. So this thing with the third eye and the pineal gland and the consciousness actually is very, very important. It is. And for people who don't even believe in it that much, it is actually very, very important. It stands with independence, freedom, and free will of the individual. And everybody has their own individual rights. It all boils down to that type of stuff too. So hopefully I presented some things that are a little bit different from what you usually find on YouTube and probably a little bit more thinking deeply. So over and out.